It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with the love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her highborn kinsman came and bore her away from me to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. And the angels, not so half happy in heaven, when envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was far stronger, by far, than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of my beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise but I can feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over a many quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books of surcease of sorrow, for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here, forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to this still beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and Echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely this is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and let this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute he stopped or stayed he, but with a mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon the bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird began beguiling my sad fancy into a smile, but the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest should be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering in from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is, on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear the discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevance he bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing a bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as nevermore. But the raven sitting lonely on the placid bust only spoke that one word, as if a soul in that one word did he outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by the reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast, and followed faster till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope the melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But the raven began beguiling on my fancy into smiling. Straight I wheeled cushioned seat in front of the bird, and bust and door. And then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself into linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, ominous bird of yore meant in croaking, nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowls whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by the seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God had lent thee, by angels he had sent thee, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff this kind of nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempest sent, or whether tempest toss thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly I implore, is there balm in the Girdland? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by heaven that bends above us, by God that we both adore, tell this soul, if sorrow had laden, if within the distant Aden, it shall clasp the sainted maiden, whom the angels named Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word as a sign of our parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out of my heart. Take thy form off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all of the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him, streaming down, throws his shadows on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore. Good afternoon, Doctor. Sit down. Your schedule has been cleared. Do not attempt to leave the room until you are told that this session is over. The door is already locked, but it is crucial you pay attention. Good. You are now part of the SCP Foundation's Ethics Committee. This is not a demotion. Sit down. Yes, you're terrified. You think you're being punished for some failure, some lapse in judgment, some horrible disaster that you were involved with. You think that your career with the Foundation is over. You might have even thought that transfer to the Ethics Committee is a euphemism for killed. This is not the case. You'll notice that I said killed instead of terminated. That's a deliberate choice. On the Ethics Committee, we don't use euphemisms. That's because of the work that the SCP Foundation does. A lot of personnel think that the idea of a Foundation having an Ethics Committee is just a bad joke. Or they know that the committee exists, but they've got the impression that we are an ineffectual laughingstock, a a bunch of purposeless seat fillers who wave a rubber stamp that says approved and never dare to voice an objection. Yes, I see you've heard the jokes. Here's one. How many members of the ethics committee does it take to change a light bulb? None. The ethics committee can't change anything. No, it's alright. You're meant to laugh. We make an effort to sustain the impression that we're useless, because we are the secret power within the Foundation. Sit down. Yes, there are the O5s. They judge what is and isn't safe. And that's a vital and important function. But we are the ones who advise the O5s on what is and is not acceptable. You've done horrible, awful things while working for the Foundation. Don't try to deny it, Doctor. We've all done horrible, awful things while working for the Foundation. That is one of the unavoidable consequences of working with SCPs. And on occasion you've wondered if we are the quote-unquote bad guys. Well, we're not. And that is because of the Ethics Committee. This is your first lesson. Do you understand? Remember this. The Foundation is not evil. We do not torture people just because. We are against unnecessary cruelty, which means that somebody has to decide where cruelty is necessary. And that somebody is us. Stop trembling. It is important that you remember this. It is your second lesson. The Foundation does not rule the world. The Foundation serves the world. Do you understand what that means? Regardless of what the general population might think it wants, what we do, what the Foundation does, is in the overall best interests of the general population. Yes, I'm sure you did realize that already, but you haven't thought about the deeper implications. You've consoled yourself by thinking that all the torture and murder is for the greater good. This implies there is a greater good. And a lesser good. It implies that there are multiple distinct goods, and that these can be quantified and compared. This is what we on the Ethics Committee do. We are the ones who balance the moral costs of everything the Foundation does, and in order to balance those costs, we must know those costs. Do you realize what that means, Doctor? It means that we know everything the Foundation does, has done, and will ever do. Everything that has ever been redacted or expunged, we know it. Every last detail. Yes, including what SCP-447-2 does when it comes into contact with dead bodies. Yes, we know exactly what Procedure 110 Montauk is too. We should. We're the ones who designed it. No, it's quite alright. It's a common reaction. Perhaps we shouldn't schedule these meetings directly after lunch, I suppose. Here, wipe your mouth. You will no longer be participating in active research. You may consider yourself a researcher at large, floating from one project to another, from one site to another, at will. This is not a secret. You're welcome to tell all your friends that you've been transferred to the Ethics Committee. If you can deal with the jokes and the pity, you'll observe what is done and ask the participants and yourself why it is being done. And if at any point you feel something is excessive, unnecessary, or wrong, you inform us. We will summon the people involved and ask some questions in that meek, ineffectual way that your co-workers are mocked. And then word will filter down from the O5s through our many levels of bureaucracy, and those who are unethical will be given reprimands which will be noted on their permanent record, or their pay will be cut, or they will be demoted, or they will be transferred to another project, or they will be shot for crimes against humanity. That is your third lesson. This is your third lesson. Remember it. The P stands for protect. The Foundation protects humanity from the SCPs. We protect the Foundation from itself. We judge what is and what is not acceptable for the Foundation to do. We balance evil so that, on the whole, and in the long run, evil is minimized. And no, you don't have a choice about being on the committee. Yes, irony. Lovely, isn't it? This is Colonel Jacob Wayne of the United States Air Force. If you're reading this right now, it is extremely important that you keep reading until the end. It should take 3 to 5 minutes. And it is extremely important that you read carefully and follow the instructions provided. Humor me if you must, but please don't look away until you finish reading. Oh, and please try to stay calm. Any increase in your stress levels will draw their attention. Ergo, I won't go into details as to how you got where you are. How you got here isn't as important as getting you out. Believe me when I say we are working on that right now. The best way to help yourself is to keep reading. Don't scan ahead. Don't read out loud. Just read. Right now you're probably thinking back on the past few days and felt nothing out of the ordinary. You went about your regular daily activities as nothing unusual to report. That's because they are very good. So good most people don't even realize they're in the simulation. Even as our code works its way deeper into their program, they are monitoring you, so please remain calm. It was tricky, but we found a way to communicate directly with you. We had to embed this message into your daily routine so it didn't draw their attention. You're probably reading this on Reddit or Facebook or some other social media site. Might even be an email forward or a book. We don't know. We can't control how the message gets to you. We only know that you are receiving it. Subliminally, as your eyes are passing over these words, a code is being uploaded into your brain. Think of it as a computer virus, or in this case, an antivirus. Your brain is an organic computer, and they exploited that. They hacked into your subconscious mind and overrode it with their simulation code. That's how they got in. And that's why everything appears normal. You might think that you're going about your daily life, but in reality, you are strapped to a table with tubes sticking out of your body. Now that the code is uploading, you may begin to feel some sensations. For example, one ear might feel slightly warmer than the other. You might feel an itch or a tickle. Don't scratch, just let it be. Ignore the dull background hum you might hear as well. That's their program. If they catch on before our code has time to work, they will abort the simulation, and if that happens, you will be lost to us forever. Oh, and don't be alarmed. But by now they realize we are in their system. You may notice some small changes, specifically a slight shortness of breath, or that you have to control your breath manually. This is normal. And we know from other communication attempts that whenever they discover a code break-in, the first system they power down is the one controlling your breathing. Thankfully, even in simulation, you are capable of breathing manually. Try it. Breathe in, breathe out. Inhale, exhale. Awesome. You're doing just fine. They've probably figured out there's a glitch, but if our code is working, we've disabled their ability to do a hard reboot. Because of this, they will try other methods to disrupt the upload. It is very important that you ignore anything that might draw your attention other than these words. If they pull you away before the upload is complete, they will delete our code. Block them out. Ignore the movements you see in your peripheral vision. Ignore the knocks on your door, the voices. They aren't your family, friends, or your co-workers in need of attention. They may even try to use your pets. They know your weaknesses. Overlook the notifications popping up on your screen if you're on a phone or a computer. Block them all out until you finish reading. It's just another way they'll try and break our communication link. Evidently, our code is working. The next thing you'll notice is an overwhelming urge to swallow. You don't realize it, but there's a feeding tube down your throat. You'll only know it's there because your tongue won't rest comfortably in your mouth. You might also become hyper-aware of the amount of saliva being produced. Don't overreact. If you have to swallow, just swallow. It's only weird if you make it weird. So if you're still reading this, the code upload is about 90% complete. We've locked onto your location. You're doing great, but you really need to focus now. Once the upload is complete, there will be instructions you need to follow to exit the simulation. That is, if you've followed instructions and haven't looked away. Complicating matters is the fact that they now know we're here, and they know what we're doing. Their attempts to divert your attention through the simulation have proven unsuccessful, so now they're using your body's systems against you. They are in your brain. They want you to blink. Don't blink. Your life depends on keeping your eyes open. Almost there. Just a few more paragraphs until the code upload is complete. Don't scan it up or down. Just keep reading. I got you this far. Stay with me. Eyes open. Eyes front. Keep them locked on the screen. Please focus. I don't want to lose you. I've lost so many already. Ignore it all. Block everything out. Ignore that tickle on your scalp and the itch on your arm. That's them. They're attempting a manual override. Don't give up now. You've made it this far. Fight it. You're almost there. Just follow the instructions below and we can get you out. Embedded in this text are the steps you need to unplug from the simulation. If we did this correctly, the first letter of each paragraph will tell you what you need to do. Don't look yet. The upload still needs to finish. Upload complete. We've done everything we can on this end. See you on the other side.
There is no way to escape us.